It's 8 o'clock, smack on the button. We're live from Auckland Park in Johannesburg. This is your program. It gives us a chance to interact with you on matters that affect you, matters that affect your family, matters that affect your community. Why, you ask? Because it's topical. A very good evening to South Africa, those watching around the world. My name is Blaine Herman, and this is It's Topical. Control our digital audience, please. Welcome, everybody. Good to have you on the program. They are here mainly to observe the conversation tonight, but obviously, if you have any burning issues, any burning comments, questions, raise your virtual hand, and I'll do my very best to bring you into the conversation. We also have a live audience tonight. My colleague, Misuzulu, SABC News Misuzulu Bulletin Editor, is on scene for us in Kgoshi. There he is, that handsome young man right there. He's there to canvass the views in Alexandra in Gauteng. He's there to get the voice of the people on the topical issue of the week. Wusi, good to see you. Good to have you on the program, as well as the live audience. Stand by. We'll come back to you shortly. That's what the program is all about, my brothers and sisters. Interaction with you. So what's topical? The AmaZulu royal family in sharp focus this week. You'll remember back in March, President Cyril Ramaphosa, in terms of the Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Act, recognized Misuzulu Singobile Zulu as the king of AmaZulu. Done and dusted, right? Not so simple. Complications. Two other names were put forward by various members of the royal family, Prince Simakade Kazwelithini, and just this week, Prince Buzabazi announced as another preferred choice as the heir to the Zulu kingdom. Now, we brought you the ceremony of Ukungena Isibayeni, a way of introducing the new king to the ancestors, said to be closer in nature to a traditional prayer and a ritual wishing the king well and declaring the people's loyalty to His Majesty the King. But here's the twist. It was performed by both Prince Simakade as well as King Misuzulu over consecutive weekends. What does this all mean? It leads us to our question of the week. And we're asking you, following the Ukungena Isibayeni ritual of King Misuzulu and the succession battles, in terms of the AmaZulu royal family, is it likely to be resolved? Send us your thought at It's Topical SABC. Walk with me while we get ready for the word on the street. We'd also like to take your calls live on the program. 011-714-5958 is the number to dial. This program gives you a voice. That's what it's all about. So we can interact with you, get the sentiment on the ground, the temperature of views on the ground as we reflect on the big story of the week. So this is the program that we want you to interact with us at It's Topical SABC. So we went out in terms of a word on the street to KwaNombushle as well as KwaMaimai to get your views on the matter that was this week with regards to the AmaZulu nation. This is what you had to say.
Disputes in the kingdom affect the subject. I feel like this is a very touching subject and it affects us very negatively, especially as the youth of the Zulu nation. We are not sure hence we are supposed to go to Mhlangeni in September, but we are not sure because of the disputes that are currently happening. We are not learning about our culture.
Instead of them teaching us the way for tomorrow so that we can teach our grandchildren and children's children, right now we are concerned about fighting. It makes us suffer.
A household forms a part of community. So how can disputes in the households, it makes it like have unnecessary disputes within the community, because now the kingdom has no direction, it has no stability, it has no sense of decision making.
Kahle thina usiko lakaZulu iyona nto esikhule ngayo, futhi nezingane zethu sicabanga ukuthi sifuna ke zifundiseke ngakho. Manje mangase kube khona umbango kuyale izingane kayithathi njengathi thina esibadala thina siyakwazi ukucabangela phambili ingane ibamba into yamanje.
Sithemba abantu abangobaba yinduna zamakhosi amakhosi akhona iKZN kuyonke ukuthi ahlangane abumbane nomndeni wasebukhosini kuphunywe nezwe liyi-1 ngoba akunamuntu okuzothiwa uyaliwa akafuni ukuthi ahambisane nomthetho wamaZulu.
Okushuthi sonke soZulu siyalimala lapho ngafanele sihlukane phakathi sihambe nomunye abaye behambe nomunye.
Iqiniso linye uMisuzulu yena esikhishelwe yena sabambelela kuye saba interested nangendlela abasichazele ngayo ukuthi uyena okufanele abe inkumkane. So ngaleyo ndlela siya confuseka, end of the day lizophela usiko lethu.
Your voice. Kwakangela Mankengane Palace. Thousands of people gathered there this weekend. It's where the king entered that sacred cattle kraal as a way of introducing the new king to the ancestors. As always, we try to give you background and context for our upcoming conversation. So let's call upon the magical wall to assist us in this regard, what we know and what we need to know. Now, here's with regards to the developments. The late king, Goodwill Zwelithini Bhekuzulu, was the longest-serving AmaZulu king. You know that he was appointed to the throne back in 1968, reigned for over 5 decades and passed on the 12th of March last year. Then his wife, Queen Manfomi Dlamini Zulu, was appointed as regent on the 24th of March last year. She was the great wife of the king. She was the daughter of King Sobhuza of Eswatini, a sister to King Mswati III. The queen, as you know, died on the 29th of April last year as well. So let's talk about Prince Misuzulu. Has been nominated as the successor to the Zulu throne. King Misuzulu now officially recognized. Various members of the royal family challenged the will and the validity of the nomination. A court case, as you know, was challenging the nomination. It failed earlier this year. And just yesterday, he performed that kraal entering ceremony. I want to talk now about Prince Semakade. Last week, a faction of the AmaZulu royal family traditionally crowned Prince Semakade Ka Zwelithini. Prince Semakade is the eldest son of the late King Goodwill Zwelithini. And then developments just this week. Other members of the AmaZulu royal house announced Prince Buzabazi as their preferred candidate for the throne. Prince Buzabazi is the 4th son of the late King Goodwill Zwelithini. So, that in a nutshell is a quick look at the recent history and the state of play. So let's discuss. I want to take you now to KwaNobuhle, where my colleague Vusizwe Langa is there to solicit the views, the voice of the people with regards to the AmaZulu kingship. Vusi, a very good evening to you. Look, as the disputes that played out over the past couple of months in terms of the royal family, I just wonder, how's it playing out on the ground with regards to the AmaZulu nation? What are people saying, Vusi?
Well, thank you so much, Blaine, and good evening to the viewers as well. When we came here with Makeketla, he was telling me that, you know what, Vusi, we are expecting 10 people when we get there at KwaNobuhle. But what we found here tonight, Blaine, is amazing. Let me just move out of the shot so that my colleague can show you what we're talking about here. Like hundreds of people, Zulu maidens, Amabuto, and community members as well. They gathered here just to celebrate the Ukungena Esibayeni kwesilo uMisuzulu kaZwelithini kaBhekuzulu. Remember yesterday, thousands of people gathered at Kwakhangela Mankengane Royal Palace in Nongoma, north of KwaZulu-Natal, to celebrate the entering of the king into the kraal, ukungena esibayeni, and we saw kings from all over Africa. I can just mention but a few kings from Tanzania, kings from Zambia, Nigeria, and Zimbabwe. The celebrations are still continuing, Blaine. As you can see yourself, the maidens, the Izinduna, and as well as Amabutos, they are just here, they gathered here to celebrate. It's just the continuation of what we saw at Kwanongoma yesterday, Blaine.
I wonder, in terms of, you know, from the conversations that you are actually having with people there, do you get a sense that there are divisions among the people, or are they singing with one voice in terms of their support for King Misuzulu?
Okay, before we go to the Zulu maidens, Amajiji, Blaine, you remember that in September is Heritage Month, and we are going towards the 24th of September, which is Heritage Day, and it used to be Shaka Day, but after the democratic elections, it was changed just to incorporate all of us, just to celebrate our heritage. And during that month of Heritage Month, there is what we call reed dance. You know, the maidens here, they are sure who they will take the reed to come the day of the Zulu reed dance. But for now, let me speak to one of the Izindunas. You know, Kwanobuhle Hostel, you find people coming from north of KwaZulu-Natal. That is your Empangeni, your Eshowe, your Nongoma, your Nkandla, your Ngutu, Umsinga, Dandi. They come here to work, and then during summer holidays they go back to spend time with their families. But for now, I'm going to speak to Induna here at Kwanobuhle. Baba, ngicela ungitshene igama lakho nesibongo.
Ngibingelele Sothole. Ukhuluma nomlungisi la umfokajali. Mina ngiqhamuka phansi emsike emachunweni embangweni phansi emphandeni kwelakithi kwaBhodlendlini. Kodwa ke ngila eAlexandra nobuhle hostela la engicuphe khona.
Mfokajali, sitshene mfowethu, sibonile izolo bekusuku oluyinqophamlando lapho kuhlangane khona inkulungwane zabantu kwaNongoma le kwakhangela amankengane beweyibonela usuku olukhulu lokungena esibayeni kwesilo uMisuzulu kaZwelithini. Uthini umuzwa wenu njengoba nila eGauteng nje?
Umuzwa wethu uyazi besiswela impiko zokundiza mase kuthiwa nansi inkosi yethu siyayibona isiyongena esibayeni, kube ngazuthi ngempela makuthiwa ilanga liyaphuma, kwaba ngazuthi besihleze ebumnyameni, salibona isizwe sethu sisekukhanyeni, sabuza ubuzulu bethu bugqama kuba sekukhanyeni ngoba sesinenkosi, sesiyayiqhenya ukuthi sesinenkosi manje.
Well, Blaine, what he's basically saying is that they are very happy that now they've got a king. And for them, when they saw thousands of people gathered at Kwakangela Mankengane, they basically said to themselves, the sun has risen, selphumile ilanga, meaning that now they have a king. But Baba Uchali, okunye futhi kuke kwaba khona inqushunqushu nokungaboni ngasolinye endlunkulu, ningathini ngakho lokho nina njengabantu abangabantu besilo esesingene esibayeni nokuyisilo esizogcotshwa kungenini nje?
Baba uSothole, usijabulise kakhulu okokuthi ekugcineni inhloso yethu njengesizwe nenkosi yethu igcina ifezekile. Kodwa siyazi futhi siyaqonda njengamaZulu ukuthi kube khona ihibe endleleni mangabe ukuthi uyempumelelweni. Lokho bekukhomba ukuyiqinisa nobe kukhomba ukuqinisa isihlalo senkosi yethu ukuthi ngaphambi kokuthi ihlale izobe sidlulile kulameva lawa ekade ethazama ukuvimba indlela yawo. Kodwa sinalo ithemba lokuthi ngoba isibekiwe isihleze sihlaleni sayo, naye kade bengaboni ngasolinye sebezokwehlela ngenzansi, kodwa uZulu wonke abemunye, sonke isizwe sakwaZulu sihlangane simkhothamele simamukele inkosi yethu Misuzulu.
Well, Blaine Induna la ubaba Ujali, is hoping for reconciliation within the royal family and unity within AmaZulu, so that they can support the king in terms of building the Zulu nation, the strong Zulu nation. I'm going to introduce to you playing again another leader at KwaNobuhle Hostel Induna. Lapha baba ngicela usondele kancane nje, ngicela ungiphe igama lakho.
Bongani Msomi.
Baba uMsomi, nibonile izolo wonke umuntu ubebheke kuthe njo amehlo kumabona kude ku television usuku lingqophamlando isilo singene esibayeni. Kuthini umuzwa wenu lapha? Ngiyabona sithe masifika benjabule ngendlela esimanga nisajabule namanje.
Umuzwa wethu sijabule kakhulu. Sijabule kakhulu ikakhulukazi ngoba bekunombango omkhulu kakhulu obukhona. Uma segcine isikhonjiwe inkosi, sigcotshe inkosi okuyona yona. Sijabule kakhulu ngoba cishe konke lokhu nabayibekayo ibekiwe inkosi yesizwe, ibekiwe inkosi yamaZulu, ibekiwe inkosi yamakhosi. Sijabule kakhulu thina ngoba sesiyakwazi ukuyikhona okumele sikulandele njengamaZulu ukuthi ikuphi ngoba silokudideka kodwa nje hayi cishe sonke sibonile njengobona sijabule kanjena nje sijatshisa sikubonile kuyikhona okufanele sikulandele ukuthi ikuphi sijatshisa lokho nje.
Ngizokubuza nawe lo mbuzo baba ujali ukuthi kuba khona ubaba uMsomi, ngiyaxolisa kakhulu, kuba khona inqushunqushu la uZulu bedunguze kumnyameni khona kungazwakali ukuthi ungabe kuzokwenzekani. Sibonile kuleli sonto ledlule kuqhamuka umntwana naye ethi simfanele lesihlalo, sabona ngolwesine kuqhamuka abantwana bephakamisa wabo ababona ukuthi ufanele ukuba kulesi sihlalo. Kodwa manje usuku lwayizolo silibonile kwaqinisekiseka ukuthi cha sesinayo inkosi. Ungathini owakho umbono ngokwenzeke ngaphambi kokuba kufike usuku lwayizolo?
Okwenzeke ngaphambi kokuthi kufike usuku lwayizolo bekwedusa amaZulu, bekwedusa kakhulu ngoba agcine isedidekile. Kodwa kwenzeke emva kwalokho bese kuba kuhleke ngoba sekucacile okuyikhona. Kodwa nabe sididekile, nami nje bengithe ukudideka ngoba leyanto ibihlaza isizwe sethu samaZulu. Yahlaza ezingathi ayihlelekile izinto, kanti izinto ehlele beganga abantu nje ngamabomu. Kodwa nje bekukubi, kodwa sekuhleke manje wasekuphezulu okuyikhona sikubonile. Sijabule kakhulu.
Thank you so much. Well, Plain, they're all speaking in one voice. They are happy the new king has been installed. The new king ingenile esibayeni izolo lapho milanga. The conflicts that we saw in a few months ago, they are happy that the king has been installed. The king is on the throne. So what they're wishing for now is just unity amongst the Zulu nation.
And that's something that King Misuzulu spoke about yesterday during the entering of the kraal ceremony, isn't it, Vusi? Thank you very much indeed. Stand by. We'll come back to you with regards to more views on the ground regarding the latest developments. Let's further this conversation, bring in our guest. We're joined live by the COGTA Deputy Minister, Obed Bapela. We also have the President of CONTRALESA, Kgoshi, Mathupa, Mokoena, as well as our digital audiences here. Thank you very much indeed, Deputy Minister. Good to have you on the program. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and to the viewers.
So I just want to get an understanding, first of all, to you with regards to the legislative process as well as the traditional process. My understanding is that the royal family meets, they nominate an heir, the minutes of the meeting is then sent to the Premier then sends it to the President, who then issues a certificate of recognition. Now, if all those processes is followed to the letter of the law, is there any room in terms of illegal processes coming from outside that can sway anything if the customs are followed? How do you find that balance?
Well, we don't enter that space because it's a royal family decision in terms of the orders of the houses that are there. All royal families having to agree. But as you have seen, there are disputes already that have arisen. And the only time that the government could come in when there's one name or two names being submitted. And then you don't know who to choose to amongst the two. Then you can then use Section 59 of Traditional and Quiescent Leadership Act and which then empowers the premier, empowers the president if he's a king, to can then appoint a committee of knowledgeable people to go in there and then talk to those who have submitted names or whatever are the number of families that are in dispute, to then determine which one in terms of the customs and the traditions of that particular grouping or nation.
Just a reminder to our digital audience, if you have any questions to our guests as well, please raise your hand and I'll come back to you, bring into the conversation. It's important to have your views. We're also waiting for the president of CONTRALESA. Look, we live in a constitutional democracy. Supreme law of the land is the Constitution. It's what brings us all together. But here again, when you see the views on the ground and how customs and traditions balance up or weigh against the law, how do you think that plays out in the public space?
Well, I don't think they weigh above the law, but they are something that the Constitution recognizes, Chapter 11 in particular, that there will be traditional leadership systems and then leadership that is in place. It's the shortest chapter in the Constitution. However, it does then play a significant role in terms of the laws that will then enact, and then the law will then express, as the Constitution says, that the law, an act of parliament will elaborate, and it will have to elaborate within the confines of the Constitution itself. We are a republican system, but we do recognize traditional leadership and their role. They are part of culture, they are part of heritage, but they are also part of the leadership.
Right. Let's go to our digital audience, get their views with regards to what we've been seeing over the past couple of weeks. Gugu, first to you, your thoughts on the ceremonies that we have taken place so far and what it means for the AmaZulu nation. If you can unmute, Gugu.
Hello. Hi. Good evening, everyone.
Go ahead.
Good, go ahead.
Okay. My thoughts on the ceremony that happened over the weekend on Saturday. It was a beautiful, beautiful ceremony and a sacred ritual. One that is a blessing to AmaZulu and also the nation and South Africa in general. When Kgoshi yesizwe entered the crowd, it's one of a huge, or even a milestone for South Africa, because that was a king entering the crowd, which is something that's sacred and something that's ancestral. And you would notice how even the rain, it rained on the weekend, just to show how big the ceremony was and how magnificent it was. It was such an overwhelming and we were filled with so much joy.
Yeah. Let's get a quick comment from Malefa Jafta. Your thoughts on what you've seen?
Evening, everybody. Evening to the viewers at home as well. I also want to echo Gugu. I think the ceremony was very beautiful. It was also a very emotional ceremony, given all the events that have taken place. I will recall that the current king, King Misuzulu KwaZulu, he lost both his parents last year, and shortly thereafter he had to resume the role of being king. So it was, it was so emotional to actually watch him having gone through all of that and now being tasked with this responsibility. Otherwise, the gods really, like Gugu has said, the gods really blessed the ceremony. It was a great ceremony. It was historic. And as one of the young people, I was actually, so glad to have witnessed such a beautiful historic event in South Africa. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just thinking when I was watching those ceremonies, is that very few people have witnessed such a ceremony. I know that not all kings had gone through that ceremony in the past, but for the youngsters growing up, I mean, the king was reigned for over 5 decades. So we haven't seen this, and it's living history. I remember waking up my son and telling him to come and watch this. You know, this is history you're watching. Let's bring in the CONTRALESA president, Kgoshi Mathupa Mokoena. I understand he is with us as well. Kgoshi, good to have you on the program. Good to have you a bit of mind to help us understand what we're going through here for the AmaZulu nation, but as a country, as a whole. When choosing the next king in terms of AmaZulu, how he was born and how he was nominated. Once those cultural practices and customs are satisfied and people are still aggrieved, what internal mechanisms needs to be exhausted before the courts are brought into this?
Thank you very much, Brain. Good evening to the viewers and even my deputy minister there. Let me start off by saying CONTRALESA welcomes the decision by the royal family for finally identifying the successor to the throne. But I want to caution people that in a royal family, disputes are common. Being common, it's up to the family to say, we are now putting our foot down because those who are contesting, there is no way they will say, now we're giving up, let this one succeed. But it's up to the family now to say, yeah, we have decided that the one who's going to succeed and be on the throne is this person.
Right.
As CONTRALESA, what we are gunning for, what we are pleading to all the royal families is that let the elders sit down and deal with all what they're supposed to do before they make some pronouncements. Because there are those who claim not to be consulted and stuff and so on. But in a family, if the elders are there, it is their task to say, please, let's call everybody together to say, as a royal family, this is how we are identifying the successor in this royalty. If that is not done, there's a danger of anyone who happens to be a Mokoena who say, no, I can also succeed and be a Kgoshi. But if the elders can really say, this is the way to go, I can tell you, Brad, some of these disputes might be avoided.
Yeah, I was listening to Prince Mbonisi Beguzulu, the King Cyprian Beguzulu's children, and they were saying that they should be saying what happens within the palaces and what happens within the royal family. When you don't get consensus in terms of that, what's the best route? You heard the King Misuzulu speak about unity. What's the best route to get to unity?
You simply go to your history to say, in this royal family, how did we deal with the succession? Because this is not a new leadership that's coming in now. They've been there for a very long time. You go back to the archives and even to the history. Hence, I am referring to the elders, those who know how do we succeed anyone if he passed on. Now, if you don't do that, the danger is that there are those who are going to say, because they favor this one, they don't like this one. The possibility is there that even the rightful one will be ignored simply because those protocols were not properly followed. Each and every royal family, they've got their own history as to how are they succeeding each other in case when Kgoshi has passed on. That's what's supposed to be done, Bray.
How important is unity among the AmaZulu royal family, not only for KwaZulu-Natal, but for the country as a whole?
It's very important. And as Kgoshi Mokoena was saying, history and archives are there. In that department, we are also writing the chronology of the family so that when such matters arises, then they can have a book that they can refer to. We have already published a few for other kingdoms and Kgoshis, and we are busy now rolling them out to the others through research, discussion with the elders, and then some of them are getting very old. We need to catch that history before, so that then everyone can then know how, in using your own customs and traditions, then the book will also be a guidance, so that we have less disputes arising going forward. But we really need the unity, of the families to really triumph over any adversity. And then, but obviously, only if they do consult and they follow the history, the chronology, they follow also the annals that we're busy developing.
History is important. It gives us context. And as you said, even Kgoshi was saying that this is not unprecedented. It dates back to the legendary King Shaka with regards to the disputes. But we're seeing it playing out in real time now in the 21st century. Kgoshi, with regards to the ceremonies, the parallel ceremonies that were had over the consecutive weekends in terms of entering the crown, Prince Semakade as well as now King Misuzulu. How do you think that will play out among the people?
It's obvious, as a person, you are not an island. There are those who are going to sympathize or support those who proclaimed or who claim to be the king in that particular space. But unfortunately, it's going to divide the Zulu nation. I can tell you, it's going to divide the Zulu nation. And I just hope there will be those who will be brave enough to approach those ones to say, please come back home. Let's try to iron out this problem that is causing an embarrassment to the nation. The Zulu kingship, and my deputy minister, is one of the role models, not only in South Africa, but in the continent and in the whole world at large. And it's so unfortunate that this played out where the sons of the same king will all claim to be the rightful one to ascend to the throne.
Right.
We are appealing to the family. Please go and talk to those other ones so that they come back home. Because after this ritual this weekend, there's no going back. If you don't come on board, you'll be isolated and be left there. Because the ceremony that is coming where the president will hand over the certificate is just a formality. The appointment of a Kgoshi or the identification of the successor is done and dusted.
Right.
The ritual that took place now is the key, is the one that sealed everything. It has paved the way for King Misuzulu to be addressed as Bayete. After that has happened, no one will be called Bayete except King His Majesty King Misuzulu.
Right. All right, so let's bring in our digital audience. Dalisu Buthelezi has his hand up. Dalisu, your comment or question?
It's a comment, and thanks for the opportunity. No, so I think from my side, the quarrel will never end, right? Or the contestation of the throne will never end. And actually, I'm getting to like it because it makes the victory sweeter, if you think about it. If there was no, a consultation from other parties, it wouldn't have as sweet as it is right now. And secondly, we are also trying to bring in Western measures to resolve an African problem. And I think what we've seen now is also an interesting example because you bring in the will and say people must write a will to resolve this thing. And look how easy it is to contest the will. You just say it's forged and you can throw it out the window. So my proposal is Zulu needs to go back to its structures, and there is a lot of structures in the Zulu governance body that we haven't used or we're not using right now. For instance, the role of Indri as a Kgoshi plays a huge important, a very important role in resolving the conflicts because they are a designated house that doesn't contest for the throne. And if we look at history, it tells us that, when King Bhekuzulu had issues, he ran to Wamandlakazi, which is Ikhohlwa house. And we also hear that King Zwelithini was actually taken by King Pumanyova from the same Mandlakazi house, which is COGTA. That is a house that is made to bring order and resolve conflicts. So, we still need to go back and put some of these measures and strengthen them so that they are more effective in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. I need to take a quick break, but let me just bring in Zita. I know you had your hand up. A quick comment from you or question? If you can unmute Zita. There you go. Your comment or question, Zita? All right, it seems that Zita is frozen. We're going to take that quick break. Look, we want to get your views with regards to, since these ceremonies have happened now already, with regards to the entering of the crowd by King Misuzulu. Do you think that this kind of resolves the internal disputes in the AmaZulu royal family? Send us your thoughts at It's Topical SABC 011-714-5958 is the number to dial. We're going to go back to Kwanombuhle in a short while. Quick break, more next. Welcome back. Now, King Misuzulu Kazweletini spoke yesterday at the entering of the kraal ceremony. Our producer, Tsile Khaswane, dissects the speech. He filed this report from the Lesedi Cultural Village. Take a look.
It's all song and dance at the Lesedi Cultural Village, a mock setting that showcases different indigenous South African cultures. But in reality, at least 4 of the country's kingdoms have been experiencing debilitating succession disputes. Among them, the Balubedu, Bavenda, Abatembu, and Amampondo royal houses. Meanwhile, in Nongoma, KwaZulu-Natal, the country's biggest monarchy has been plunged into crisis. Since the death of King Zwelithini and Queen Mantomfi last year, rival factions have been claiming to be the rightful heirs to the Zulu throne. Until this past Saturday, there were 3 contenders for the AmaZulu throne: King Misuzulu, Prince Simakade, and Prince Buzabazi. But Misuzulu has now been crowned king and has vowed to bring unity.
Kusukela namhlanje uZulu uhlangene nina besilo. Sivula iqabunga elisha elikhomba khona ukuthi ayivesa ekhona amambuka kwaZulu, kodwa kulokhu sizoqeda umbuka ngoba sifuna wonke umuntu abuye ekhaya.
Without providing names, King Misuzulu claimed there had been a dirty hand belonging to outsiders that had attempted to divide the Zulu nation.
Kunesandla semfene kulento eyenzeka kwaShembe nalena efuna ukwenzeka lapha ekhaya. Laba bantu bathunyiwe.
But according to one independent cultural analyst who attended Bekuzulu College alongside some of the royals, contestation for the Zulu throne is nothing new.
It's something that has always been there in the contestation of who becomes the king.
You went to school with Prince Simakade, right? So you know his personality. Do you think he will accept this decision following what happened yesterday?
Knowing him from school, he was a very humble somebody. I would say that the way the princes were brought up in a Zulu culture, respect is a very supreme principle.
While King Misuzulu has struck a reconciliatory tone throughout his address, he couldn't resist reminding observers that he has the backing of the democratically elected government of South Africa.
Ngibonge kakhulu kumongameli wase South Africa, umhlonishwa uMatamela Ramaphosa, ukuba isitifiketi sobukhosi wasiqondisa nami ngqo. Akusekho kubuye kushintshe manje. Siphumile ayikwazi futhi ukuphuma zibe mbili noma zibe ntathu. Phuma sibe sinye.
King Misuzulu Kazwelithini has officially become the 9th AmaZulu monarch. For its topical, I'm Tsile Khaswani, SABC News, Lesedi Cultural Village, Northwest Province.
All right, Tsile, thank you very much indeed. Let's get straight back to my colleague Vusi Langa out in KwaNobuhle, in Alex in Gauteng. He joins us now live. Very good evening to you once again, Vusi. We heard what the King Misuzulu had to say with regards to unity, the recent developments. What are people saying on the ground?
Thank you very much, Blaine, and welcome back to the viewers as well. We're still at KwaNobuhle Hostel. Just when we were like sitting here, Amabuto came to celebrate as well the Ukungena Espaini Kwesilo Misuzulu Kazwelithini. Talking about Amabuto, you cannot talk about Amabuto without talking about Kgoshi noma Induna. Here with me is one of the izindunas here at KwaNobuhle Hostel. Baba ngicela usondele kancane ngiphi igama lakho nesibongo sakho baba?
Ngumduduzo kaMthunu usihlehla nyovane njengobhejana. Utojaza waba inespethi ngoba iqobana kethu. Ufaso umuntu umnathe epheke phezulu. Ngiyakusaqathela.
Asiyibambe lapho baba ngoba ngiyazi ibongo zensizwa inokuthuka bese ziyaqoshama. Baba umuzwa wenu sibonile izolo isilo singene esibayeni sonke sajabula. Empeleni kujabule wonke umuntu mina bengifonelwa abantu bethi hey uyazi ngisiwumzulu kodwa ngizizwa ngathi ngumzulu. Uthini umuzwa wenu?
Umuzwa wethu uphezulu baba uphezulu asazi ukuthi senze njani ngoba umoya nje namazwe eshile sibuya khona lewakhangela amakengane namanje sikhona nje lana namabutho futhi ngiyacabanga ukuthi akusase emsebenzini asiyi nabantu bazo understand ukuthi besenza something.
Yeah. Or Induna Umkhunu here, Blaine, he says he is very excited. They just came back from Kwakangela Mankengane. Maybe tomorrow they will not go to work. Even the bosses will understand what happened in KZN. Matungwane. Manje sesibheke kulomcimbi lo la umengameli ezobenikeza isilo incwadi egunyaza ubukhosi baso ungabe ikhwama ibheke kwaZulu
ikhoma izobe ibheke khona ngizokuthiwa kuseMabhida ikhoma ibheke khona kuzobe ngihamba namabutho impela nje okazoyiphelele sizocela nje ukuthi zaba amabhasi noma ngaba u15 or 18 azophuma nje la enobuhle kuphela.
Well, Blaine, Mr. Mkhunu here, he says even though they don't know the date yet of the handing of the certificate to the new king, but they will make sure they go there. All they want now is maybe a sponsor of 3 buses that will take Amabuto and the maidens here from KwaNobuhle to KZN. He says, of course, ikhwama zibheke eMabhida bazwile ukuthi the event will be in Mabhida. That's what he says. He says, when he says Izkwama ibheke Mabhida, it means they're of course definitely going to Mabhida. And then Blaine, I heard one of the viewers talking about the reed dance, not sure about how is it going to happen this year since there was this misunderstanding and conflict within the royal family. But now I would like to invite one of the leaders of the maidens. She's the mother as well. Mama sawubona sibingelele sikwamukele on its topical.
Ngiyaphila ninjani?
Ngicela ukukhulumele nje phezulu mama ne.
Ngiyaphila ninjani?
Siyabonga ubani igama mama?
Mamdleje, Betty How Cultural Activity.
Oh okay. Mama ubhekeni weintombi. Siku September manje. Inyanga yamagugu mandulo and of course uSeptember siyazi ukuthi inyanga edume ngokuthi kube nomhlanga umkhosi omhlanga umsuku lwayizolo luconfirmile lwaqinisekisa ukuthi hayi seniyazi ukuthi umhlanga nizonikeza abantu.
Yebo sijabulile kakhulu sijabulile kakhulu ngokubekwa kwenkosini.
Okay, ngitshene mama in terms of uku-encourage ukuyiphatha kweyintombi kweyingane kwamatshitshi ukuhlangana nokuyiphatha kanjena iyintombi neqhaza elingakanani ekugqugquzeleni ukuyiphatha kweyintombi zize ifike esigabeni sokuthi seyingagana.
Kahle kahle akukalelekile ukuthi umuntu sengafika esigabeni masuna 21 kahle kahle baye bekwenzele umemulo wokuthi sebeyakhulula ukuthi usebenza noma yini.
Thank you very much, Mam Mdletshe. Siyabonga mama. Okay, Mam Mdletshe la Blaine was talking about the maidens being happy that they know where they will hand over the reed during the reed dance ceremony in September, somewhere in September. I'm not sure about the date. Sisakhuluma ngamatshitshi. Let's welcome one of the maidens here. Your name? Igama lakho?
Igama lami nguNosipho waKaNtuli.
Nosipho waKaNtuli. Kodide izizwa kanjani njengoba izolo ngibonile isilo sigele esibayeni. Ngiyacabanga ukuthi seniyazi ukuthi umhlanga nokumane uphatha ifikeni uthumbeke kuwo.
Ngiyathokoza kakhulu, ngiyajabula kakhulu ngokuthi ubayede wethu useze wangena esibayeni ekugcineni. Ngithokoze kakhulu futhi nanokuthi sizolithola nethuba lokuthi siubambe umhlanga, siyazi nokuthi sizowunikeza abani, siyazi ukuthi siubhekise kubani umhlanga wethu mangabe siubamba, asinayo i-confusion ebekade sinayo ensukwini. Ngiyathokoza kakhulu.
Well, Umamkhulu here, Blaine, she's also saying they are happy that they know where to take the reed to come September during the reed dance ceremony.
Musilanga, live for us in KwaNobuhle, in Alex in Gauteng. Thank you very much indeed. We'll maybe touch base with him a little later on if we get a chance. We're running out of time, but we have the Deputy Minister of COGTA here, as well as Kgoshi Mokoena, President of CONTRALESA. Kgoshi, just before I get to the Deputy Minister, I just want to bring in something that Vusizwe was saying with regards to Amabuto. My understanding is that they authenticate the presence of the new king. Now, once that support is given, can anything fundamentally change in terms of who they support?
As I said earlier on, it is done and dusted. It is over. His Majesty is now in charge of his nation.
Yeah.
And all we're hoping for is for the royal family to reach out to those who are still out there in the cold, to bring them back to the fold. Nothing will change. Amabuto is the shield, the protector of His Majesty. Once the Mabuto are there, we have seen this weekend we're there, and this coming coronation will be there as well as CONTRALESA.
Yeah.
We are only calling on those other family members, please, this is your kingship, this is your royal family, please come back. Nothing will change, Blade. I know you can even check with my colleague there, the Deputy Minister. He will tell you that there is no going back. There is no two certificates. You issue one certificate for one king, that's it. And that's where we are as CONTRALESA. We're supporting this current king, and we're going to support him even when he's coronated. The whole National Executive Committee of CONTRALESA, myself, will be leading the troop, will be going there to support His Majesty.
All right. Malefa Jafta has a hand up. Malefa, come in, give us a comment or question.
Okay, no, for me, really, it's a comment before we part. What I wanted to say is I really hope for the unity within.
Oops, Malefa, if you can unmute again. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. No, what I wanted to say is, it's a comment. What I wanted to say is that I'm really hoping for unity within the royal family, so that even the other prince Makade, he actually gets a chance to being a big brother to the current reigning.
Oh, you just unmuted again. Last comment.
His role. Yeah. Yes, his role, Princess Makate's role, it's a very pivotal role of being a big brother to the younger brother who's the current king now. So they must just reconcile so that he can be able to be supported by everybody within the royal family. Thank you.
All right. Let's go to Zita. Try you again. Zita, if you can unmute your comment or question.
No, it's just a comment, even myself. Thank you very much, Blaine. I need to congratulate the House of the President for giving finally the certificate to the king. You know, when there's a dispute in this fashion, it means that the nation is just to come to stand still. But what I will urge the other group, which is the divided house, let them come to board and support this thing. Because mind you, you should understand that, and it's paramount important that when the house is divided, even the people on its own, which you are followers, they tend to lose the direction as to know where are they following. You should remember the background that played by Vusi there. There was a confusion about this rich dance, that people are not sure exactly where to follow. But now it's paramount important, and now there's a light at the end of the tunnel that at least the King Nation, they're taking a very good, decisive steps. And everyone, I think they need to support that. Thank you very much.
Right. Zita, thank you very much indeed. Simam Kele, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Blaine. I have a question for Kgoshi Mokoena. Having seen that disputes are over successorship to the throne are common, not just in the Zulu kingdom, but throughout kingdoms in South Africa, we've seen it in several kingdoms. Don't you think that CONTRALESA needs to perhaps relook its scope of work and have measures or strategies in place in order to intervene before things get even worse or drag for a long time, without necessarily interfering with the decisions taken, but to just facilitate the process so that we don't see bad things or worse behaviors amongst the members of the royal family or the people that are being led? Thank you.
All right, let's take it to Kgoshi Mokoena. Your response, Kgoshi?
I appreciate the question from the viewer. But it is true. The best thing is that while I am still alive, I must call my family so that we draw up the genealogy to say if I pass on, who will follow. As CONTRALESA, indeed, we have seen these disputes are all over the country. What we're going to do, taking from what he just said, is to have a program where we visit our royalty to advise them that let us correct this thing while we're still alive. Because when you are no more, it's where each and everyone, even those who are not even closer to the throne, they want to be there. We take that advice very strongly, Blade. We'll do exactly that.
All right, Kgoshi, thank you very much. Deputy Minister, I just want to clarify the issue of the certificate of recognition. When was that handed over by the President to King Misuzulu?
It happened earlier this year.
And it was done already. Yeah.
And then at the time of the handing over, then the dispute arose. We had to hold with the certificate, and then until the former Premier Zikalala had to appoint a committee by Willis Nkunu, and then to see as to why this dispute. And then there were recommendations. Whilst we were studying the recommendations, Judge Madondo in Pietermaritzburg, by those who had taken the matter to court, then ruled on it and said, this is the king, and then pointing at King Misuzulu as the bona fide king, and the matter then is closed. And once the court pronounced, we then released the certificate to His Majesty. Right. And obviously during the coronation, the president will just do a ceremonial handover of the certificate that already is with the kingdom as we speak.
Do we know when the coronation is going to take place?
Well, it's going to be end of September, beginning of October. The president will then indicate the date in which when it will happen. But I know that there are engagements and discussions with the family to finalize and His Majesty.
Right. We asked our viewers to send us their thoughts with regards to our question of the week, and we have voice notes, I understand. Let's listen in.
I would like to congratulate the Zulu nation for electing a new king and hoping that this will mark a new beginning for the Zulus, especially after the ups and downs fighting for the position. Hopefully this will bring unity and bring peace in the Zulu nation.
It is still early to say the battle is over. This is the beginning. It seems like they are fighting in silence, so we will see.
He is a good leader. I heard what he said yesterday, and then I've picked up a lot of points out of his speech. Once you are a leader, when you involve God, God will give you a wisdom to run his people.
Yes, it will pass. The family will resolve it because it's just the history repeating itself. It did happen when Kgoshi took the throne in 1856. And it did happen again when Kgoshi died in 1884, when the Misuzulu take over, the great-grandfather of the king who's on the throne now. It also happened when Chaka was on the throne, fight with Dingan and others. So it's just the history repeating itself. Just thankful and grateful because there was no blood. It was just a fight.
I'd really appreciate your thoughts. Please continue to engage with us during the week as well at It's Topical SABC. Do we have time for one more comment, or are we? All right, that is it for now. Thank you, Deputy Minister, for your time. Kgoshi, as always, a pleasure having a better mind on the program. Digital audience, value added indeed. We do apologize to Mr. Zulu there, but we will get your comment and try to post it on our socials. Here's my take. Zulu culture, the power of ancestors, spirituality, values and practices. As a child of KwaZulu-Natal, I hold it dear, but I also know that disputes regarding succession and the throne dates back many years to the days of the legendary King Shaka, in fact. So when seen through the long lens of history, it's not unprecedented, but in the glare of the 21st century, we see and hear it playing out in real time on our screens and on radio. Naturally, we formulate opinions, who's right, who's wrong. As a result, sides are taken, positions, it's hardened, which has the potential of polarizing society. Many are hoping that it doesn't get to that point, which means sooner rather than later, uncertainty needs to give way to peace and unity. The news continues. Stand by for the Globe. Until next week, take care. Bye-bye.